She was born into a world that could not comprehend her soul. A girl of noble blood, restless eyes, and a fire too ancient for her age. At 4, she spoke of luminous beings who whispered secrets in forgotten tongues. At 12, she drew maps of places no one had taught her. Cities lost, temples buried, symbols no scholar could explain. She wandered the halls of aristocracy with the heart of an exile. Her world demanded obedience, yet her spirit belonged to another realm. By 20, she had vanished, crossing oceans, deserts, and war-torn lands, chasing fragments of dreams, guided by voices she could not prove, and by a vow she had made before birth. Then one night, high in the frozen silence of the Tibetan mountains, under stars that burned like watchful eyes, she heard it, not with her ears, but with something deeper. A call not of sound, but of soul. And from that moment on, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky would never be the same, nor would the world she came to awaken. What would make a woman leave behind everything, her family, her country, her comfort, her name, to chase voices no one else could hear? What kind of force calls someone across oceans and continents, not toward power, but toward mystery, not to be praised and but to be misunderstood, not to rise and but to disappear? Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was not a saint, she was not a prophet. She was a woman born into the wrong century, wild, brilliant, stubborn, and unshakably drawn to something unseen. Some called her mad, others a fraud. But the truth, she was one of the few who dared to listen. To the silence between thoughts, to the whispers beneath reason. And in that silence, she heard something most people spend a lifetime ignoring, a calling, one that would tear her away from everything she knew and set her on a path that would change not only her life, but the spiritual destiny of the West. In this video, you will discover the moment, the exact moment, when her life was split in two, before the calling and after. You'll travel through her forgotten childhood visions, her flight into exile, and the mysterious event that nearly took her life, but instead became her rebirth. And as you watch, ask yourself, have you ever felt the same pull? That quiet ache that tells you you're meant for something more, something ancient, something sacred, something hidden. Because what changed her may be what's been waiting for you all along. This is not just history, this is initiation, and it begins now. She was born in Yekaterinoslav, a city of cold winters and colder dogmas, in a Russia ruled by strict tradition and stricter faith. But Helena was never truly there. Even as a child, she spoke with the authority of someone remembering, not learning. She wandered the halls of her aristocratic home with distant eyes, whispering to beings no one else could see. Her nurses said she was mad. The priests said she was possessed. Her father feared her. But Helena, she felt like a stranger in her own skin, as if her soul had arrived from somewhere older and far away. Religion tried to tame her. Catechisms, rituals, punishments. None could silence the visions. She asked questions children were never meant to ask. If God is love, why does he condemn? If the soul is eternal, why do we live in fear? No one had answers, only anger. She began to suspect that the answers weren't here, not in the church, not in the textbooks, not even in the language she had been born into. There was something missing, a thread, a presence, pulling her toward a truth that had no name. At night she would wake in tears, haunted not by nightmares but by memories, of temples, of symbols, of mountains crowned in snow. Her family tried to correct her. They arranged a marriage, a man 3 times her age. She agreed, and then fled, ran, disappeared. Because even then, before she understood what she was, she knew what she wasn't. She wasn't made for parlors and pearls, not for blind obedience or false piety. She was looking for something real, something ancient, something sacred. And perhaps, so are you. Perhaps like her, you too were born into a world that feels foreign, as if your soul remembers more than it should. And perhaps, so are you. Perhaps like her, you too were born into a world that feels foreign, as if your soul remembers more than it should. She ran. In the stillness of early morning before the city stirred, Helena left everything behind. Name, title, expectations. She boarded a carriage not toward safety, but toward destiny. Few know the full story of how she escaped. Fewer still know why. But she wasn't fleeing a man. She was fleeing a life that didn't fit. From Constantinople to Cairo, then back to Europe, she moved like a shadow between continents, following whispers others couldn't hear. Her journals speak of symbols seen in dreams, of faces she recognized in strangers, and of a voice, calm, insistent, always pointing east. India. She had never seen it, but something within her knew the way. Her first attempt was reckless. She boarded a ship from the Mediterranean without proper papers, without permission, without fear. But the sea had other plans. Somewhere off the coast of the Red Sea, a violent storm struck. The vessel groaned, the crew panicked, and Helena was thrown into the black waters. For hours, or perhaps minutes, she drifted. Alone, lost, dying, and then something impossible. A shape, robed, luminous, appeared on the waves. Not seen, but known. He later wrote, "I was not saved by chance, I was pulled from the sea by an unseen hand, one I had known before this life." Was it a hallucination? A miracle? Or had she crossed a threshold? One foot in this world, the other in a deeper one. What matters is this: she survived. And when she awoke, coughing salt and sand onto the shore, she knew two things. First, her life no longer belonged to her. And second, the road to India and to the masters had only just begun. Something was guiding her, protecting her, waiting for her, just as perhaps something invisible waits for all who dare to seek. The path to Tibet was not marked on any map. It was a trail whispered through dreams, passed down in symbols, concealed behind mountain passes few dared to cross, and even fewer returned from. But she found it. Whether by fate, by memory, or by the silent hand that had saved her from the sea, Helena walked through the Himalayas like one who already knew the way. For weeks she disappeared from the eyes of the world. No letters, no records. Only the occasional rumor of a pale woman seen in saffron robes walking alongside monks who never spoke her name. Years later, when questioned, she would never give exact details. She would only say, "I was allowed in." Allowed where? Into a place few Westerners had seen, a hidden sanctuary beyond the snowline where libraries were carved into cliffs and silence held the weight of 1,000 years. It was there she met them, not gods, not spirits, but men, greater than kings. Mahatma Maurya, Master Kuthumi. Not names, but titles. Custodians of a wisdom older than history. They did not speak in riddles, nor did they flatter. They tested her, broke her, and then offered her a task that would consume her life. Carry the fire of the ancient wisdom into the West, they said. Teach that which has been forgotten. But know this: you will be hated, mocked, betrayed. You will suffer, and you will walk alone. They offered no proof, no miracles, no rewards, only the work and the silence between their words. Helena could have refused. She could have returned to her life, her name, her world. But something in her soul recognized the mission, not as a task, but as a memory. As if this was not the first time she had stood before these masters. As if she had promised long ago to come back, and so she accepted. With no contract, no safety, just the echo of truth and the conviction that she was exactly where she was meant to be. That night, beneath the stars of a forgotten sky, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky became more than a seeker. She became a bridge between the seen and the unseen, between East and West, between what was and what must be remembered. The world would never know what truly happened there, but she did, and so did they. After Tibet, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky never truly returned. She re-entered the world, but she was no longer of it. Her mission became everything. Every city she visited, every book she wrote, every conversation she had was infused with the fire lit in those mountains. But it wasn't easy. She faced slander, illness, betrayal. She was mocked by scientists, threatened by priests, and dismissed by those who once called her friend. And yet, she continued. Not because of certainty, not because of praise, but because she had listened to something most people ignore. The silence inside. That space beneath the noise of the world, beneath the headlines, the opinions, the fears, where the soul speaks in a voice no one else can hear. She trusted that voice. even when it made no sense, even when it hurt. And that is perhaps the greatest lesson she offers us. In a world screaming for our attention, can you still hear the quiet truth within yourself? Do you have the courage to follow it, even when the path is unclear, even when others call you foolish? This is not just a story about the past. It's a map for you. Because we all feel it at some point. That gentle pull away from the familiar, that whisper that says, there is more, not more things, not more success, but more meaning. And meaning rarely shouts, it waits in stillness. Blavatsky's life reminds us that purpose isn't something handed to you. It's something you uncover, layer by layer, by walking into the unknown. Not every step will make sense. You will doubt, you will stumble. But if you keep listening, truly listening, something sacred begins to emerge. Not from the outside world, but from within. That is what the masters gave her, not a prophecy, not a script, a direction, a flame. One she chose to carry, through storms, through exile, through fire. You may never travel to Tibet. You may never see the masters with your eyes. But the silence that called her is the same silence that calls you. And now the question is yours. Will you listen? How many times have you felt it? That quiet pull in the background of your life. A soft voice that doesn't speak in words, but in questions that won't leave you alone. A feeling that there's something more, something ancient, something waiting. Most people ignore it. They turn up the volume of the world, drown it in noise, comfort, distraction. But maybe you didn't. Maybe this video is your sign. A reminder that the path is still there, not outside you, but within you. If this awakens something in you, if you feel the stir of that same calling Blavatsky once followed, then don't let it fade. Subscribe, activate the bell, and join us on the next step of this invisible journey, because in our next episode, we'll explore the mystery behind the hidden masters, who they are, where they dwell, and why they chose Helena Petrovna Blavatsky. The silence is calling. Are you listening?